Fame is a disease, one we all want to catch, but few can actually live with. If you're unlucky enough to be an artist, a creator, a thinker, a performer, any sort of public-facing person really, you think about fame sometimes. What it looks like, what it could feel like if you get it, whether or not you deserve it. It's one of the desires that drives artists, and it reflects in the art they create. We keep remaking A Star is Born, and it keeps getting Oscar nominations. Stories of fame, and the price thereof, are timeless for a reason. We like to see the rise, but we love to see the fall. Few films are as perfectly, idiosyncratically effective at making this point as Brian De Palma's gonzo, gorgeous 1974 masterpiece Phantom of the Paradise. Though it was a failure upon release, it's rightly become a cult classic over the last 50 years. There's something undeniable there, something deeply profound beneath the layers of style and humor. It has a tongue-in-cheek looseness in its tone, but it's made with a breathless sense of experimentation and an exuberant intent in its filmmaking that sets it apart from something like, say, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, a film made around the same time, for the same studio, with around the same budget, which achieved wildly more critical, commercial, and cult success. This isn't a knock against Rocky Horror, it's great, and it deserves the love it gets, but hear this. Phantom of the Paradise is a staggering cinematic achievement. Not just a masterpiece, but one of the greatest American films ever made. It's a once-in-a-lifetime statement born from two woefully underappreciated artists. A stylish young filmmaker who was finally ready to step into the mainstream, and a chameleonic and prescient songwriter turned actor who distilled the past, present, and future of popular music into 92 minutes. The result is a messy, brilliant film that asks what it means to make a deal with the devil, and if it matters that your art lives forever if you lose your life and your soul. Phantom of the Paradise tells the story of Winslow Leach, an awkward but brilliant musician who wants his cantata, a loose adaptation of the story of Faust's Deal with the Devil, performed in front of as many people as humanly possible. He's good. The cantata itself is well written, thematically interesting, and melodically fascinating, but he's the wrong package. He's a weird-looking guy. He has an off-putting and violent energy. He just doesn't have it. However, this doesn't stop Swan, a reclusive, infinitely youthful, and infinitely talented music mogul, from recognizing the potential of Winslow's music as the perfect material to open his new music venue, the Paradise. He steals Winslow's songs, shuns him from his company, and proceeds to destroy Winslow's life as he tries and fails to retrieve the rights to his music. Horrifically disfigured after a prison escape, Winslow proceeds to haunt the Paradise as a masked phantom, ushering in a spree of explosive murders and assaults. However, he and Swan strike a contract, signed in blood, which allows Winslow to continue work on his cantata, but now under the direct thumb of Swan. This deal even ensnares Phoenix, the golden-voiced innocent who Winslow sees as his muse. Swan sidelines Phoenix and gives Winslow's music to Beef, a glam rock moron who is heavy on showmanship but light on talent. During Beef's inaugural performance, Winslow murders him on stage to the rapturous delight of the enamored and bloodthirsty crowd. Swan sends out Phoenix to calm them, and she becomes an instant celebrity due to her soulful, simple performance of Winslow's music. Swan traps Phoenix in a contract and seduces her, and Winslow attempts to kill himself and Swan out of despair, but learns that they're both bound to life by the contracts they've signed, rendering his efforts useless. Winslow discovers Swan's contract, a video recording of his deal with the devil that ages in his place, and destroys it, breaking Swan's immortality. He also stumbles upon Swan's true plan. Due to the incredible popularity of Beef's onstage demise, Swan intends to orchestrate an assassination of Phoenix during their televised nuptials. Winslow thwarts the assassination, stabs Swan, and members of the assembled crowd and performers take turns stabbing him, hypnotized by the spectacle. Winslow's self-inflicted wound reopens, and he dies in the arms of a traumatized Phoenix as the crowd writhes in murderous ecstasy. On paper, this all sounds maudlin, melodramatic even, but the secret of the story's success lies in a young Brian De Palma's encyclopedic cinematic knowledge and his willingness to experiment and play with form and tone. De Palma was and is one of the best pure visual storytellers of his generation. He makes bold, idiosyncratic choices that take his main pool of references, namely German Expressionism, Orson Welles, and Alfred Hitchcock, throws them into a blender, and synthesizes them into something feral and undeniably confident. De Palma's flair for visual dynamism is all over the effervescent, rapid-fire editing, the Caligari meets Dante's Disco Inferno production design, and the gothic 70s splendor of the costumes. But his genius is never more apparent than in the cinematography, the shot choice, and how he chooses to frame his leads to convey meaning. He uses the opening Juicy Fruits credit sequence to set the musical tone, sure, but it also establishes the movement, energy, and perspective of the film through its tongue-in-cheek performances and violent, discordant background action. The background action defines this section of the film. In fact, it's how we're properly introduced to Winslow, as Philbin monologues about some random dirty dealings he and Swan are involved in, a monologue delivered straight down the barrel of the lens, directly to Swan in a manner that's both deeply hypnotic and skin-crawlingly uncomfortable. Our focus is drawn to the floor below him, as Winslow muscles his way on stage to perform his cantata. De Palma wants us to consider the background, consider the people who start out of focus, consider the nameless unimportants who hunger for fame, hunger for connection. He never frames Winslow as a hero before his transformation into the Phantom. He's always ill at ease in the frame, never commanding it, never quite dominating. He's both eager and nervous, and the camera is both intrigued and repulsed by him simultaneously. He never fits in shots. He's made to look silly or cramped. De Palma uses wide lenses and uncomfortable angles to distort and deform William Finley's odd but lovable face into images of pain, rejection, and violence. In fact, the only time we see him as anything resembling confident or heroic before his transformation is when he's at the piano. It's his home. It's where he belongs. When Winslow becomes the Phantom, the camera finally respects him. He looms, he lurks, he's given his own set of iconography and active, powerful framing. He's either in constant motion amongst the back rooms of the Paradise, or locked in perfect, harmonious sync with his tomb-like recording studio. The only times that awkward, uncomfortable framing returns is when he's with Swan, the only person who truly holds power over him. Swan represents a contrasting lesson in seemingly contradictory framing that serves to define character. He's a juxtaposition of private and public personas, so we have two ways of framing him, two lives, two personas, two sets of framing. In public, he's shrouded, obscured, or out of focus. We're often meant to feel his presence by his absence in the frame. This felt presence is heightened by the fact that the built environments in Swanhenge and the Paradise seem to be tailor-made for Swan and Swan alone. Everyone, by design, feels less comfortable in his world. In private, he's always tightly framed in dynamic, iconic poses and positions of grandiose power. He commands every shot he's in, even though Paul Williams is almost a foot shorter than most of the other actors he plays against. He's often shown through reflection, a constant reminder of the deal he made, and a sharp insight into how Swan sees the world. A mere reflection of his own desires and ambitions. It's Narcissus staring at himself in the pool, mixed with Orson Welles' multi-angled mistrust in the finale of Lady from Shanghai. But that perspective is contagious, infectious even. Swan's perspective seeps into Phoenix and Winslow once they enter his orbit. Before Swan, Phoenix is framed serenely through flattering portrait lenses and shallow depth-of-field shots that remove her from the noise around her. But when she's in Swan's grasp, she becomes part of the chaos. She's surrounded by reflections, feathers, and glass, and shot from less flattering angles. The fame literally changes her. The only time she gets any freedom in a scene is when she's singing, when she's the star. Then we hold on her the same way the audience hangs on her every note. And when all three of these perspectives collide in the final moments of the film, it all goes out the window. It's visual madness designed to disorient, with rapid-fire cuts, wide angles, and disorienting handheld camera work. There is no master in this scene, no one is in charge. There is no way for these three characters to coexist in the same frame without total combustion. When both Winslow and Swan are dead and Phoenix is left broken and traumatized, only then do we retreat to the dolly shot, the moment of objectivity and slow visual control that contextualizes the pain we just witnessed. It also serves to demonstrate how irrelevant it is to the assembled crowd. She's the only one not having a good time. We float above the crowd to see the results of this car crash of power, fame, art, and love. It's violence and joy in an unsettling harmony, and all of this because we needed something new to listen to. The patrons of the Paradise got exactly what they wanted. Swan was right, and it only cost him everything. It's weird to think that a guy who was mostly famous for advertising jingles and easy listening tunes would go on to be as vital to popular music as Paul Williams, but here we are. It's easy to say that Phantom doesn't function without Williams, or at the very least, it doesn't achieve cult status. But while his performance as Swan is singularly sinister, his songs deliver an effortless mixture of consistency, eclecticism, and iconography that results in a film that's as musically nimble as it is visually dynamic. It's tragic, hilarious, nostalgic, forward-thinking, soaring, and gorgeous all at once. It sits, musically, at that fulcrum point of the 70s, looking back on the 50s nostalgia wave of its past, the warbly singer-songwriter fare of its present, and the darker, glam spectacle of its future. Is it right to say that Paul Williams invented Kiss before Kiss? Maybe not. But it's not exactly wrong, either. Be it zeitgeist or clairvoyance, Williams' consummate chameleonic qualities that he honed from gig songwriting work are legendary. Compare The Hell of It, the film's aggressive, apocalyptic earworm of an end credits piece, or the tongue-in-cheek Beach Boys-inspired number Upholstery, with something like We've Only Just Begun by the Carpenters, or literally anything from The Muppet Movie. All of his work is so disparate in style and approach, but that flexibility belies something more critical to Williams' success. For an anonymous songwriter who made a living selling his work to other artists, there's a consistent, humanistic voice and point of view in his lyrics. There's a deep romanticism, optimism, and yearning, but also a devilishly playful cynicism and incisive wit. And Phantom of the Paradise feels like the first place Williams ever had to let all of his influences and feelings play out. And that's not to say there's a lack of cohesion here. We get so many different musical styles, yes, but Williams weaves them all together using recurring leitmotifs, melodies, and thematic elements from the film's Faustian backbone to craft a musical that transcends the shackles of the necessary but kind of boring book number that a lot of stage musicals have at least 3 of in their repertoire. It's an album of iconic singles with a grander design, the film's soundtrack equivalent of Dark Side of the Moon. The film treats its songs as emotional outpourings like most musicals do, but also as true rock and roll performances, and it helps each staging feel important, precise, and motivated in ways traditional musicals aren't. Much of the story is related through visuals and dialogue, but that doesn't diminish the importance of the songs. It just means that they can carry more of the thematic and emotional weight. Strip away all of the pageantry and genre hopping, and you can almost see Williams plinking away jauntily at the piano with a single spotlight on him, ever the impish vaudevillian. A note before we continue. This segment had no natural resting place, but we cannot talk about Phantom of the Paradise without talking about its best, and honestly funniest character. Welcome to a brief interlude about beef. In a film full of instantaneously iconic characters, Beef reigns supreme. He's dramatic, he's cantankerously hilarious, he's full of himself. He's a glamorous amalgam in ways that individual glam rockers could never quite accomplish, with outfits that other artists should have stolen wholesale. Like a snakeskin suit with a belt buckle that's a whole taxidermied snake encased in lucite, a Santa Claus coat and black leather gloves, a gold-embroidered horse jacket with a velvet deer antler belt that surrounds him like a protective shield, and a Frankenstein's monster meets workout chic slasher number accented with all of the glitter the costume and makeup department could scrounge up. He's hopelessly addicted to cocaine. He's the only person employed by Swan who seems to have the good sense to challenge him on literally anything, and he's bursting with actual, undeniable stage presence. For one brief, shining performance, he was a rock star. And what a performance. Somebody Super Like You and Life at Last represent the technical production of Phantom of the Paradise at its most lavish, as well as its most calighoristic. It's here where the intersections with Kiss and Rocky Horror start to become apparent, but the film wears its German expressionist love on its sleeve, using the old to create the new. Beef's performance is a reflection on music and theater that realized that rock and roll was at an inflection point. The psychedelic era was over, and a darker, more visceral one was about to begin, bringing with it all of the drama and danger of increased showmanship and outsized spectacle, feeding off of an inherent violence in the transaction between artist and audience. The result is 8 minutes of spectacular glam rock, but Beef's larger-than-life entrance is only matched by the thematic importance of his exit. Fame is messy. It's not one-sided. It's an unequal exchange between subject and audience. The famous person can't be real enough. They can be as giving of themselves as they possibly can, but the audience will always want more. It's a bad contract. A deal with the devil is never in the signer's favor, but that platform, that reach, the ability to have their voice heard, their vision seen, they sign, and then the artist gives, and in return they receive all of the fabulous things that come with being special, with being talented, with being, most of all, known. But the curve is steep, and the more the artist gives, the audience takes 2-fold, 10-fold, 100-fold. And if they can't have more, they'll take it all. And if that artist won't give, if they dare to keep a tiny sliver for themselves, if they want to maintain something resembling a normal life amongst the chaos of public personhood, well, the audience will throw that artist away. The act of wanting to connect to every single person in the world is unnatural, hubristic, and society has this primal, unyielding need to punish hubris, even if it's noble, even if it's pure, maybe even especially if it's pure. There is no win state. This deal, this contract, it has no real benefit beyond immortality. And what good is immortality if you don't get to live? Phantom of the Paradise is filled with people who died for their art, or who sold themselves away to the worst people imaginable for the chance, the opportunity, to make that exchange of feeling, emotion, and creativity on as large of a stage as possible. Winslow's cantata echoes these woes, and that longing, that ache and hunger whose shape fits so neatly with the insatiable appetite of the audience, finds its way through no matter how his songs are distorted, twisted, or watered down by Swan. A man whose life isn't art so much as it is a constant choreographed performance. A man whose every moment is recorded for posterity, for the archives, so that there is a complete record of the glorious works of Swan. It's a satire of a Nixonian impulse that's unintentionally prophetic of our connected age. Swan's outsized active ego, vanity, and insecurity boils down to what is essentially a private Instagram account. Swan wants the world, but Winslow, and Phoenix for that matter, just want to be heard, seen, understood. They want to connect with their art, the hubris that begs for punishment. But what is art without an audience? If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Yes, obviously, but that simplistic answer misses the real question. If nobody was there to hear it, does it matter that it made a sound? Art needs an audience to have an impact, to have a meaning. Art is interaction. People need art to enrich their lives, but the Suits realized they could step between the art and the audience to commodify this exchange and line their pockets, turning this sacred relationship into a sullied transaction, cheapening the impact, turning audiences into customers and artists into customer servants with all of the duties that entail. Both audience and businessman will take more than the artist can give. Devils on either shoulder. Service one and the other hates you, but you can't survive without either. The only angel is creation. The noise and show and product are shiny and appealing, but the truth is in the performance itself. The act of creation. The moment you go out and make a thing or put yourself out there. The trappings are just that. Traps. It's why Winslow looks content singing his cantata to a club that ignores him. It's why the world stops when Phoenix pierces the bloodlust of a mobbing crowd with nothing more than her song. It's what Swan sees that he can't possess, the simple act of perfection that he isn't a part of, so he feels the need to crush it, to snuff it out, to warp it into something that will have the common, predictable effect on people that he knows he's good at, the empty calories of showmanship and spectacle. And at a certain level of spectacle, he no longer needs to do the crushing himself. The audience will do it for him. The industry has changed. The world is different than it was in 1974, but we still quest for fame, for connection. It's easier to do than ever before, and paradoxically, more difficult. The contracts became savvier, more complicated, smaller and more distributed. If you can get everyone to sign just a bit of their soul away, making everyone a little bit special and a little more miserable, is that just as good as taking it all from just a handful? What deal did you make for your likes, for your retweets, for your views? What are the terms of your contract? You might want to read the fine print. Thank you all for watching Too Many Tapes. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon to get updates for when I upload videos. Also, if you like this video or any of the videos I make, why not recommend me to a friend? Algorithms be damned, it's the best way to get the word out. Also, did you know this film directly inspired the creation of Daft Punk? Look it up. Let's talk about it in the comments. If you want to help out a small YouTube channel, consider donating $1 or more a month to my Patreon. For just $2 a month, you get early access to my videos. Every dollar I get through my Patreon goes to fund tapes and films to cover, as well as new equipment to make the show look and sound as good as it possibly can, so thank you for your support. If you donate $50 or more a month, like Nato Kitsch, you get a movie recommendation. This month I'm recommending, and I can't believe I'm saying this, 2024's Beetlejuice. I know, I'm as shocked as the rest of you. Tim Burton hasn't made a great movie in 20 years, but this thing has rejuvenated him. I can feel the joy, I can feel the passion, and most importantly, I smiled like a big idiot for an hour and 44 minutes and left the theater buzzing with glee. It's got jokes, it's got fun tactile filmmaking tricks, it's got ridiculously effective needle drops, it's got Willem Dafoe and Michael Keaton acting against each other. It's great. Go see it. For $10 or more a month, you're members of the Beef Fan Club, and your names get to be extremely glam in the credits. And for $5 a month, you're Phoenix, because you're my muse and you get early access to my videos. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you next time on Too Many Tapes.
music again.